before the show, we always do a little bit of prep work. We actually don't schedule too much. We fly off the cuff because we prefer it that way. But I was kind of presenting it to him this way. I said, how about we kind of interview each other today and see if you guys enjoy that. So let's just go ahead and dive in. I got a question for you already. It's kind of a trick question. I want to see how you answer it.
All right, let's go.
So if I ask you, what are you most prolific at? What would you tell me?
What am I most prolific at? Wow, that's a very good question. Oh, man.
I go for the gut first, man.
What am I most prolific at? I have to really think about that one.
You're supposed to just boom right up. What do you think? What's the first thing if I ask you, like, that's the best thing that you are at that?
Probably mentoring kids.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's boy or girl. For some odd reason, like, kids are attracted to me. They want to tell me everything. I said last week, I seen an interesting post from one of the parents that was talking about how good of a guy I was. And they was like, if you want to know anything about your kid, ask Ty Steele.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah, because kids tell me, it seems like they have no problem with telling me everything. And I think it's mainly because I don't judge them. I don't talk bad to them at all. I actually listen to what they say. I base that, and then we have a great conversation about it. And some of those times I feel like I need to talk to the parents, I'll talk to the parents. And a lot of times it's stuff they're like, hey coach, I really need to talk about this. And the way you build your trust with somebody is you don't go blabbing their business. So I don't go blabbing their business, or when they're in trouble, I don't be reminded of what they told me and then I'm like, you did say that such and such, and so now I believe that you did this. So I don't use what they share with me against me. So I think one of my biggest things that I have is like mentoring kids.
Well, I think sometimes we can gain some wisdom from what somebody says about us or thinks about us on the outside. So the way I'm going to answer what your answer was is I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think you're most prolific at being good to people.
True.
I do. You treat everybody, or you attempt to treat everybody fairly.
Oh, yeah.
And across the board. And that's something that I've been working on the past few years, because between the two of us, I'm the more edgy one.
Yeah.
If one of us has a quick temper, it's me. You're the more peaceful one. Now, I've seen you where sports is usually your trigger.
Yeah.
Sports is the one where if you get really emotional, you get loud, but you get inspired. You know, you're not a person that cusses, which I respect that.
Oh, yeah.
I slip up now and then.
Yeah.
I say it because I'm in the moment. I don't premeditate cussing.
Yeah.
I honestly mean that. I don't. It just comes out in my passion in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on record on this show. I've slipped up in huddles, and I've said some things I shouldn't say. But at the end of the day, that is how I view that. That's what you're most prolific at. So what is you got a question for
I
me?
can throw that back at you. What are you most prolific at?
I'm most prolific at, and I'll use an example, on the way home from school the other day. I believe it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all know that the first week of school is trying for everybody involved. The kids, the parents, the teachers, the coaches, everybody is trying to just be there for everybody. And it's hard. On the way home, you know, there's a lot of nerves after school. There's a lot of things that kids deal with that we didn't have to deal with. A lot of emotions. And I turned around and I addressed the back seat. And the back seat's always the boys. See, I was taught to be chivalrous.
Yeah.
The girl sits in the front. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
The boys don't necessarily agree with that, but they're starting to learn that that's what I view as proper.
Teach them well.
I'm trying. And I looked back there and I said, look, what you need to understand about me is that I take being a father and a spouse more seriously than I do anything else.
Okay.
It's something that I know I'm never going to get paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I make no money. I get no glory. It is one of those things that you rarely get a figurative or even a physical pat on the back for.
Yes.
But I wake up every single day committed. That's the word for me. I'm committed, and I choose to be father and spouse every single day. And I like to think I'm successful at that every day. I know there's days where you and I spoke, I was pretty weak, I was pretty down, I went to bed angry.
Mm-hmm.
And we should never allow ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I do wrestle with, because in my family, tempers are statistically pretty bad. Irish, Scottish, American, all that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, and we are sometimes tied to our heritage. But I really think that on this journey that we've been talking about for our show today, by the way, for those of you who just chiming in and you don't know, our show today is about what about you, or actually the general question is, are you in your journey towards being the best version of a male or female that you can be, man or woman? Are you engaged in that, and what does that mean? You know, how do we define that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is just where you're headed at. Different people coming from the church realm always talk about this is my calling. I'm called to do this, or
Yeah.
God, can you please tell me what my calling is? And as you get older in life, like me, you soon realize that you are called differently on different days. So at first I was called to be a husband.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then I was called to be a father. Those two callings don't ever change.
No,
I
they
was
don't.
called to the ministry. I was like, I'm able to go preach. But I can't forget about my other two callings, because now I have this new calling. I feel like this is my calling, or I'm called to coach sports. You know, your calling changes daily, and I think when people start to realize that it's a bigger picture than where they're at right now. So some folks right now are working a job that they hate.
Yes.
But this job is going to take you to another level. It's going to take you to a job that you can probably really appreciate, or maybe you going to school in part-time, and then eventually you're going to get that job that you want. So everything is like a stepping stone. We can't get so conformed or think about like right where we're at. I remember working at a job here. I hated that job.
Uh-huh.
I wasted 10 years of my life at that job. Started off as a driver, then I moved on to a salesman. It was really hard for this particular place to, I didn't see anybody that was of color in management. Everybody stayed salesman, no higher than that. So there was no room for growth there for me. Not bad for those guys. I mean, that's how they ran their business. And when I left, I put my notice in. They was like, "Why are you leaving?" I was like, "There's no room for growth for people like me here."
Yeah.
And they was like, "What do you mean?" And I really broke it down to them. I was like, "I've never seen a black supervisor here." And they sat back and they thought about it. So like 2 weeks or so after I left, they hired their first black supervisor. And I feel like, yeah, did I sacrifice myself? Yes, but I hated that job.
Right.
So if anybody else can benefit from me saying something about it, I was fine with it. But my calling kept changing, so I kept going further and further and further. And I talked to some people recently. I was like, "Man, I'm about to retire from coaching." They was like, "You're lying."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm about to retire from coaching. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to do my podcast, and I'm going to write books, and I'm going to enjoy those things." But that's the purpose of me becoming, that's like showing me the journey of the man that I'm becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was a stepping stone to get here. Me coaching is the reason why I'm here today, reason why I have the voice that I have.
Do you view coaching as something that you need to do? Does that make up Ty Steele? Like if you remove that, does it remove a part of you?
That's the scary part that I'm worried about. You're so used to hearing coach before your name.
Yeah.
I wonder what would life be like after that. I wondered what life would be like this year without me teaching. And I can't lie and say, "Hey, I didn't miss my students on the first day." I missed them. They're my babies.
Mm-hmm.
I missed all of them. But I thoroughly enjoy the new job that I have. I get to help more kids. And instead of me being confined to one school, I can go to multiple schools and meet all types of kids.
Right.
And then we're talking to these kids about getting into college. But I think a lot of time we limit ourselves. I limited myself by staying at certain schools for so long,
Mm-hmm.
when I should have been, all right, there's nothing more here for me. I need to move. I need to move on. I got all my kids on social media. They can find me if they need me. They can email me. They can do all of those things. But I think I do myself a disservice if I stay just in one spot. So constantly getting to the man that I'm supposed to be, I know that my calling is going to change daily.
That's pretty good. I mean, and it's very self-aware too. By the way, anybody, if you have any questions for us, if you have any insight, please communicate with us while we're live. That what makes it a lot more fun and interactive. We're right here. We got our keyboards ready. Next point I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you said that your first calling was to be a husband. I've taught my kids since they were young about choices. I've educated them on what that exactly does that mean. It's not about what crayon do you want to use, red or yellow. I have told them many, many, many times that you're going to have between 3 to 5 central choices that you're going to make in your life. Like I say, you can count your hand, one hand. You're going to have about, I say 5 is the max. Okay, and one of those is, do you graduate high school and or college? Do you find someone you're gonna spend the rest of your life with? Owning a house, getting a car, and living a good life.
Oh yeah.
How do you get to that last part? Okay.
Okay.
And it's really not so much different than playing a board game, like such as life, or even if you really want to make it elementary, Candyland. These are all goal-oriented games that we teach our kids and our youth. And I think that's why we hold them in such nostalgic regard, because we learn like, hey, I have to make the correct choice here, because if I don't, I won't end up where I want to be.
Exactly.
Shoots and Ladders is a great one. I love that game to this day, and a lot of people laugh. Even Demi laughs at me, and I said, but you know what though? It's so true. You can get all the way to the top, dude.
Oh yeah.
But what happens when you're at the top? I used to say that to our players a lot in football last year. You got one place to go if you get on top. And I'd ask them, where is that? And they'd say, down. I was like, yeah, so let's not go there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and I remember when I thought my calling in 2001, 2002 was to be in sports public relations.
Yeah.
I was on top of the world, Shoots and Ladders.
Yeah.
Okay, my star was rising. I had paid my dues. My students heard this story over and over again about I got 35 rejection letters. You don't even know this story about me. I got 35 rejection letters. This is snail mail back in the day, early 2000s, and I kept them all, dude. I kept all of them.
Wow.
You're talking about from NCAA, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, and I had had a few internships. I had already interned for the Lightning. I had interned for ESPN Deportes. I had interned for University of South Florida. I had a little bit of success.
Wow.
Graduation was coming up. Parents were saying, son, what are you going to do? And that was a scary question, because I knew what I was doing to try to make it happen. I wasn't telling them, well, I got a box full of rejection letters of teams that don't want me, saying I'm not good enough.
Wow.
Well, I'm always one of the underdog. We both love being the underdog. We embrace that. So I would look at these letters and I'd ask myself, how many more of these are you willing to go through, Dave? How many more? Is there a number? Does it stop? Do you just quit? And if you quit, you better have a plan of what's going to be next, because all you've ever wanted to do is be in sports.
Yeah, it's true.
So I remember one of the final rejection letters I got was from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh man, they can reject somebody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This was for the season internship. Okay. Dude, I'd love to be there. And so I was at the transition point. I was starting to let go. I was starting to, when I get to a point where I feel like I've had enough, I don't call it quitting. I call it distancing myself.
Oh yeah.
I have to twist it like that for my brain. So I remember putting that letter in the box. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's the Jaguars. And I said, I'm sorry, you have the right number, because I already received your letter, and I wish I could be with you all, but you said you didn't need me for the internship. And they said, well, actually, we want you to come for the interview. And I said, I don't understand. I said, is this a joke?
Yeah.
They said, no, actually, we need you here in 2 days. You're the only out of county person that we're interviewing. Long story short, I got that internship. I loved it. I hardly slept. It was the time of my life. Getting to eat right beside 330-pound monsters every single day, but they were such good guys. I was hanging out with Fred Taylor like he was my friend.
That's cool.
I was in the locker room with Mark Brunell. And I will never forget it, but the thing I remember most, and the point I'm trying to get, and I know some people are like, what are you trying to say, Dave? What I'm trying to say is this: I thought I was going one direction.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was not a man of faith at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And God had something planned for me that I could have never imagined. And I remember in that year leading up to that internship, I said out loud to myself when I was in the car, I'm like, you know what, Dave? I think you'd be a really great dad, but I just don't think I want any kids. I think I want to do this alone. I think I want to just be solo, you know? I got a lot of plans. I was selfish. I was very, very selfish.
Yeah.
And as fate would have it, February of 2003, which was 1 month after my internship ended with the Jaguars, I found out Hannah was going to come into my life, my oldest child.
Mm-hmm.
And my choice in that moment was so critical. I had two ways. I could be in the demographic of males who tuck tail and run and don't want to be a man and be a father and go after my career because I had worked so hard. But in that moment, dude, I was scared.
Yeah.
My roommate at the time looked at me. He looked at my feet up to my face. He said, Dave, what is going on? I had just found out. I must have been pale. He's like, are you okay? And I was holding myself up on the wall, and I gave him the news. He went, wow. And Stephen Drummond, if you're out there, he was the only guy that was in the apartment at the time. And he was the guy coming home every single day, opening up his Bible.
Wow.
2 years younger than me. And love Stephen. He's working for the Carolina Panthers. He has stayed in the business, and I live vicariously through him. Every time it's NFL season,
Yeah.
I'm like, there he is on the sideline. You know, he's right there working with Cam Newton all the time.
Wow.
And I learned a lot from Stephen, where day after day I'd come home and he'd have that song, I Can Only Imagine, on by Mercy Me, when it was at the height of its popularity. Every day, dude, I came back and he had that song on.
Yeah.
And God started talking to me. I felt very uncomfortable. I'm like, what's happening to me? Maybe this isn't about me. Maybe it is about something a whole lot bigger. And so I made that conscious choice. I'm like, you know what? I'm scared to death. I'm going to have to leave the NFL behind. And I'm going to do this, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know if there, you know, and this is me, this is 26-year-old Dave. I don't know if there is a God, but I'm going to go down this road, and I'm going to take a leap.
Wow.
That was my first critical choice to be the man that I'm called to be.
Wow. That's powerful. And I mean, I tell all my students that they don't get this, and I don't think any child will understand. I tell them, I said, we're all selfish individuals until we have kids.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you know, because it's easy to go to the store and say, you know what, I'm about to get these new Jordans. I'm about to get this new outfit. I'm about to really hook it up. And I'll turn, I'm about to splurge.
Yes.
But when you have kids, you're like, I gotta buy their shoes first. I gotta buy this first. I gotta get diapers. I gotta get milk. I gotta do all of these different things. And you no longer become that selfish individual. You're putting somebody before yourself. And a lot of kids, they don't understand that. And so I said, you won't get it until you have kids. You haven't, and I say that all the time, you haven't lived until you found something that you would just completely die for.
Right.
And you know, for my kids, they can get it all. If I gotta donate an organ, a hand, it don't matter. They can get it.
Right.
So I think we're all selfish individuals until we have kids. And I know having my first kid, that was a scary situation. I was 23 years old. A lot of my friends had already had kids in the teens. So I was like, you know what, y'all got so many kids, I'm just gonna play with y'all.
You can give it back.
I'm not gonna have any kids yet. And then, you know, in 2000, early 2000, my first child, she was born. That was life changing because, you know, coming from what I came from, I always promised myself, if I had kids, I'm not gonna let them experience the things that I experienced.
Sure.
And it's a weird thing that men that are raised without their fathers in the household, like my dad stayed in Georgia, my grandmother raised me, so I wasn't in the household with my father. But it's amazing how a lot of those men turn out to be great fathers. Now some of them, I found that a lot of guys that have great fathers, have mom and dad at home, become lousy parents.
True.
And I don't understand it, but I know on my road to becoming a better version of me, I think it started when I was a lot younger. And a lot of people don't know, I was 19 years old when I got arrested. I was 19 years old when I got arrested. Police accused me of burglary.
Okay.
So I went and did my little pre-trial thing where they call you, and then all of a sudden in December, it's like, you know what? All charges dropped, nothing against you, blah, blah, blah. But I told myself in that cell that night, my grandmother always told me this, and she said, Ty, I always got your back. I promise you, I always got your back. But if you ever go to jail, don't call me. I was like, okay, so you always got my back. As long as I don't get in trouble, I'm good. So here I am, 19 years old, hot 19 years old, go to jail. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm calling my grandmother. She's answering the phone. She said, why are you not home? What's going on? And I said, Mom, I'm in jail. All of a sudden I heard it was a dial tone. I was like, no, that was my only phone call.
She meant what she said, dude.
Yes. So it wasn't, she didn't come down for my first pre-trial hearing. The next day, my aunt and my uncle was there. And just to see my aunt cry the way she cried, and see my uncle sitting there, his arms folded, he was so disappointed.
Yeah.
Because he was always hard on me about graduating, about doing these things, and so here I am, Bay County Jail. I told myself in that cell that I would never, ever go back here again. So I changed up my image. I wanted to ride around and look like I was selling drugs. I had a nice car, had a nice system up in it, and police, when he pulled me over, he was like, how can you afford all this stuff? What are you doing? I was like, I got 2 jobs. I work at Taco Bell and Taco Casa. I'm the Taco King. But I wanted to look like I was on a certain level.
Yeah.
It really wasn't me. So I was like, you know what? Getting rid of this car, getting rid of this system. I got to change some things. I called myself going to Tallahassee to go to school, but that was just one big party. Came back, that's when 2000 happened. Then all of a sudden, all right, you're gonna be a daddy. What?
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, that's when I started to become the man I would really start being called to be. But a lot of times we're in toxic relationships that hinder us from being the person that we're called to be. And I was in a situation because I felt like I grew up, mom and dad not in the house. I felt like, all right, I'm having this child.
Right.
I need to be married. All right, so let's get married. Here we are. We're not ready to be married. First off, she's not over a relationship that she used to be in. I mean, she was in an abusive relationship, so she wasn't ready to be in a relationship. And not that she was a bad person, but she just wasn't ready. She had trust issues. And here I am, a young man. I'm like, man, if I sit up in this house, I want to go. I want to do stuff. I want to do that. I want to do that. But it's hard to be with a person when they have trust issues and then your relationship becomes toxic. And a lot of people stay in those toxic relationships, and it hinders the kids because our kids then grow up and think, hey, this is how a relationship is supposed to be. Mom and dad are supposed to scream at each other every day. They're supposed to yell and curse each other out and act a fool. And that's not how it's supposed to be. So I feel like a lot of people, the relationships they're in, the people that are around them are kind of hindering them from being the people or being the person they're called to be.
In case any of you are wondering how genuine we are on this show. What I'm about to say, dude, you know what's crazy about you? I don't think you realize how much we are alike. Everything you just said, I could have said it.
Yeah.
Everything, word for word, I could have said it, and we mirror each other.
I know.
And that's, gosh, when you say it, it puts you back in a mindset where you can still feel that pain. You can still feel, and pain doesn't even do it justice. Pain can be so many things and is so relative, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, all the above.
Mm-hmm.
We both went through experiences that I guess we needed to go through in order to appreciate what we have now. We both have spouses now who, I think it's fair to say, if they had been the first one, maybe we wouldn't have appreciated them.
Nah, definitely.
Is that fair?
That is definitely fair to say.
I mean, I would like to think that I would have appreciated Demi the first time around, but we've also joked and said, timing.
Yes.
Timing literally is everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I know where I was back at the end of 2015 in a very, very dark place.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with God and I said, you know what, God? It's just going to be me and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I am done trying to have a functional and healthy relationship with anybody. And I'm good with that.
Wow.
I was cool with that. I was ice cold in my veins.
Mm-hmm.
I was stiff arming like the Heisman on people all the way around me. I'm like, I'll have a couple friends here. I got my kids here. I got teaching. I got basketball. I don't need any woman in my life at all. And then all of a sudden, at the end of that year, Demi's delivered.
Yeah.
And I've told her so many times, I said, if it had to be you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that song, like it had to be you.
Yeah.
And that gave a new meaning to me. I'm like, well, now I understand what that means. It's not just a tagline. It's like, there was no other. It was, this is the one that he brought right here. It's got to be, because she's been through stuff where she wasn't appreciated. Now the timing is right, because it had been a day or two earlier, or even a week.
Yeah.
You miss, like Back to the Future. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm looking right now at all the people that's joined, and it makes me think about one of my greatest mentors is on the line right now, Pastor Elder Alfonso Williams Jr. Listen, I had no clue of what a man is supposed to be in any type of relationship until I met Pastor Alfonso Williams, and he was so loving and nurturing with me because I was a hot mess. I had my ideas of what a man is supposed to be and how a man is supposed to carry himself. And it wasn't until I met Pastor Alpha, I was like, wow, I've never treated a woman like that. I've never done that. Open the door and you have date night, and he make it his business to love his wife. And I just want to say, hey, Pastor, he was one of my greatest mentors. And back to what you said, I don't think, if the women we have in our lives right now, we wouldn't have had those. If we'd have had them first, it probably wouldn't have been a good situation. Because there's a difference between 2002 time and 2019 time.
Without a doubt.
I mean, I got married in 2006. There's a difference between 2006 time and 2019 time. And it was just all about me finding myself. My sister-in-law, Sharice, she's probably one of my greatest influences, and she doesn't even realize it. But I got a barber license, I got all this different thing, I got degrees now, but it's mainly my sister-in-law. She was like one of my cool friends when I was in high school, but she had children, and she had boys, and she was like, hey, I'm so tired of going to the barber shop. My son needs his hair cut. I was like, you know what? I can cut hair. So I started cutting their hair. Then she was like, you are really good at it. I was like, I probably can do this. Went to barber school, got my barber license. My nephew needed a football coach for his Tiny Mike team. That was back in like 2005. That was my first time coaching football. And they was like, hey, you want to coach? She was like, yeah, but he wants to coach. She brought me on in. They made me the head coach that day. So here I am, a head coach, probably 27, 28 years old, and I'm over this tiny night football team.
Yeah.
So that's where coaching started coming into play. Then she started going to school online, and she's like, "You can do it." I was like, "Nah." Oh, let me back up from that. She got to be a football coach, was really cool.
Mm.
Then she came to me one day. She said, "We need a speaker for our Black History program." I looked around. I was like, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah, you're talking to me. Ain't nobody back here. They talking to me.
I get up in the pulpit at church. It's gonna burn down. You don't want me up there. She's like, "No, you be good at it. You be good. Just try it." So I get up there and oh man, I had a wonderful time in the Lord, and I just started seeing God different then. She was so heavy in church, and she got me going to church, and then my speaking engagement started becoming more and more, and then they started putting minister before my name, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, I don't want that. I don't want that."
Right.
But when God wants you to do something, you have no choice but to do it. It will pick at you and pick at you.
Very true.
And then she started going to school. She was like, "You can do it." And I was like, "No, I hate math. I'm not going to school." But me being a football coach, I was at Rutherford. This was the first time I was at Rutherford coaching. And I was like, "I just don't like the way things are going. I want to be a head coach one day." They started laughing. They was like, "You don't have a degree. You can't do it." And I called my sister-in-law. I said, "All right, I'm going to school." So now I got 3 degrees. And possibly thinking about another one. My wife was talking about that this morning.
Man.
But these people guided me into being the man that I'm supposed to be. And a lot of people don't know the influence they have over other people.
Right.
So my sister-in-law, I know I think they're riding right now, having a good time. But if she hears it, she probably gonna bust out laughing. She's like, "I didn't know," but she needed help, and I was the guy that was always gonna help her because she's always helped me. And then when I seen her sister walk through the door the first time, because I wasn't nowhere near the church then, and I was like, I looked at her, I said, "You're going to be my wife." And she's like, "Boy, who are you?"
That is crazy that you did that, dude. That is crazy.
And I think she still said to today, like, "Boy, who are you?" But that's what started directing and guiding me into me being the man I'm supposed to be. And I think that particular time when I first met her sister and her mom, we was over there on the party, and I was drinking some adult beverages, and so I was really nervous about talking to mom. I was trying to compose her, and she just sat there and she looked at me and she kept pointing and she did this. She said, "I'm gonna get you saved," and I was like, "Huh? No, I'm gonna go to church." I'm staying away from church.
You're gonna argue with mom now.
Yeah, but they got me to going, and that's what started molding the man that I am today. These women took a crumbled up package and started straightening it out, smoothing it over, ironed it, prayed for it, and put it out there. And now I'm the product that you see because of all these people. There was a need, and there was like guidance that they needed. So things started working out for us in our favor. So I'm certainly thankful for those women.
Isn't that kind of how it works, though? Where you say about a crumbled up package,
Oh yeah.
and then you seem to almost metamorphosize, and you get repackaged.
Mhm.
It's like recycled. Again, compared to your childhood, mine was very uneventful. Went through a divorce at 7 years old. It was heartbreaking and emotional. But I did watch my parents very closely, and I took things from them, either that I wanted to mimic or that I wanted to maybe better.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to take that and sharpen it a little bit. And I think my mom primarily raising me led me being a gentler version. If I'd have been raised by my dad primarily, I think I'd have been edgier, a lot more aggressive. But I took different things from each of them. My mom would really shelter me. She did coddle me, and I know that she did it out of love. I was the only child, and I've been her pride and joy forever, and still am.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that she did so much for me, she probably did too much. Whereas I saw my dad every other week for 2 days.
Oh yeah.
And so I developed more or less, I don't want to say a hero complex, but I would put him up on a pedestal where normally if your dad is living in the same house as you, you're just kind of hanging out with dad. You know, you're kind of like friends with dad. Everybody's always friends with dad.
Yeah.
And when we were together, you know, he was the one I'd say, hey, you know, can we throw the football? Can we? He was the one that introduced me to basketball. He put the ball in my hand. I always give him credit for that. And he was not an athlete. He would go play with his friends. Uh-oh, we're hearing ourselves.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi cut me off.
He would go out to the fields with me. He would go out to the court with me, and he'd stick it out, and we would learn from each other, and more or less that's where my athletic career started from him. My mom was always the supportive one. She was always the one that was more or less putting the hammer down if it needed to be. Other than that, though, I can say that, you know, my relationship with them now, I think is fluid, and it's because of they enjoy watching these iterations that I go through. They enjoy having the grandkids, having a relationship with them, and I guess seeing the fruits of not only their hard work in developing me, but my hard work in developing the skills that they gave me.
Oh, yeah.
And we just don't realize, dude, how many people are put in our life. Like, the numbers go off the chart. They go off the game board, so to speak. And if we were to sit back and look, I think we'd be overwhelmed. I really don't think we'd be able to really ingest and say, it takes this many people for me to be the best version of myself.
Yes.
I think that'd freak us out if we saw that.
Oh yeah. I had some really good questions on my live feed, but the Wi-Fi went out.
Is it still out for you? Because I'm still up.
It's back on. So
Okay.
if you can listen, Jesse had a great question. I can't pull it back up. I don't think I can pull it back up.
Do you remember what it said at all?
No. It was a great question though. It was about wives. And
Fight it again.
And Coach Jim, thank you for what you said. I know he's not on there right now, but let me see if I can find those guys. But Jim said I helped him be a better father. And coach, because Jim coached with me, his son Trevor, all his kids. I love them. They're like my kids. So, Coach Jim, I really appreciate what you said. And Jesse, I pray that you can come back and ask that question. Maybe you can look at it from, I don't know if you can look at it from over there, go to my page. But guys, you don't realize how many people you can have a hold on, how many people you help just by helping one person. So by my sister-in-law and by Pastor Williams saying what they said to me, there was a shift, there was a change in my life, and it started pushing me to be the man that God called me to be. And I was certainly thankful for these people. And I know without certain people in my life, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be who I am today. All right.
Right there,
So,
with the finger.
all right. So Coach Jim, oh, he left me.
Darn it. Here, I'll just read it to
I
you.
got it.
You'll
Coach
remember.
Ty has taught me how to be a better dad, and he has helped me learn how to be more understanding. I have much love for this man. He has been a blessing in my life and a lot of others. Thank you, Jim. And then Jesse says, is it just making it our business to love your wife? What about if you have kids? It is definitely your business to love your kids, Jesse. A lot of people get so much confused when they start talking about Bible, the order of the Bible. It's supposed to be, they say it's supposed to be your wife, family, well, God first, I'm sorry. God first, wife, kids, then the church.
Right.
So I think as long as you're going in that order, you are doing a great service to your family, but you just gotta have the order of understanding. Like me, that's why I struggle. I said, I'm about to retire. But I just love coaching football.
Just emotional, that's
Yeah.
all.
But like yesterday, for instance, my daughter, she had a certain situation where I should have been there and was able to talk to her. You know, they're having all types of tryouts and different things, and I don't get to have those talks with her about trying out. I have to just go see the game.
Right.
Or if she doesn't make the team, I'm not there to say, baby, it's gonna be all right. But of course, she always know that daddy's gonna say, suck it up, buttercup. But we have, it's because we give so much. People have to understand that our families suffer as well. So
Yes.
being a coach is the hardest thing. I think being a coach's wife is super hard because you got to deal with all his emotions when you get home,
Right.
especially if he's lost the game.
Yes.
Then you got to, he's taking practice home with him. Or if somebody said something crazy to him in practice, he takes all those things and, like you said last week, we just dump it on our spouses.
Right.
That's not a good thing.
No.
So becoming a better you or a better version of you, you've got to learn to not do these things. You got to learn to tone it. You can't always beat your wife up. It's got to be date night. It's got to be, you have to do those things.
Absolutely.
And I want to say, like, shout out to Coach Jeremy Brown. I see Jeremy Brown every year before football season. Him and his wife take like a vacation or something that weekend, whether it's a cruise or just to get out of town.
That's a great idea.
Because he fully understands what it's going to take, and she understands that he's not going to be there for a while because you give yourself to these kids.
Right.
And people think coaching is just we go coach football or basketball. No, coaching is after practice, after the games. You're laying in your bed, you get a text or you get a phone call, one of your athletes is missing, or something is going on, or they need some encouraging words.
Right.
You never stop being a coach.
No, you
so I
don't.
can sit here and say I'm gonna retire all day long, but I'm gonna always be mentoring somebody. I'm always gonna be talking to these kids. I'm always gonna be trying to figure things out. So you can't really retire. And like you said, I think that would be weird for me if I wasn't coaching because I hear coach more than I hear anything. My daughter, I think Janae says dad at least 100 million times a day. So I don't think I don't never want to stop hearing that.
No, absolutely not.
But I can't retire from that. But I want people to understand how much these guys give or these ladies give when they're coaching the sport. It is a lot.
I have the reverse side of that. I got to experience the end result of stepping away from coaching, which for those of you who don't know, I'm still in the midst of that, taking a little bit of a break. And so while I was there supporting you on the sideline last night, I remember I was sitting there with Demi and with Davis.
Yeah.
And I said, this is why I took a step back. So I could be here with you guys. So I could not have a dog in the fight and just go there and watch this game and enjoy a beautiful night. And, it was no stress.
Yeah.
That's that part that unfortunately you still miss.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't be in two places at once. You just can't. Even though your family's there,
Yeah.
you're not there with them.
I never have to wait. I have to look up.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, and it feels good that they're supporting you, but you're always in that struggle. You're like, I'm here for these other kids. My family's here. My responsibility is to them primarily, but I'm also responsible to these young men here. And that is a battle
Yes.
that we put ourselves through. It's a choice.
Yes.
Nobody makes us do it, so we don't ask for sympathy. But it is one of those things where we get questioned. Well, if you get so upset, why do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can say that about anything in life, anything you truly care about. And I posted this earlier in the week. If it's worth it to you, you have to work for that. You have to commit to that. And being a great father, being a great husband, being a great employee, coach, all takes 100% commitment.
Mm-hmm.
How many 100% do you have?
Yeah.
We don't ask that question. We always say, give it all you got. Give 150, 200%. Well, how many of these triple-digit percentages do we have before it runs out?
Yes.
Nobody gives us the tools for that. And that's where we kind of do the, oops, fell into that one. Oops, fell into that one. Oh, but you're so good at it. Well, I don't, people say be careful at what you're good at.
Yeah.
And when you spread yourself so thin, like, dude, you do that. I watch you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when you sleep. And I mean, I'm busy, but you're super busy. You always have me beat. And it's like, I worry about you. Like, he's going to burn out. Like, I don't want him to end up like me. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
For the strongest of us, it happens. For the most motivated of us, it happens. And that's why I had enough self-awareness. That's another point that I wanted to make about being that man or that woman that you're called to be. You got to be self-aware.
Yes, you do.
You have to know your limits.
Yes.
You have to know I don't think I have enough in me to get here, so I'm gonna maintain where I am, and I can save up to get there. That's what I'm in the midst of right now. Coaching is not done for me, and I know it. You know it.
Oh yeah.
You cheer me on all the time. She supports me 100%. The kids understand that that's who I am at the end of the day. And so they appreciate this extra time that they have with me right now. But they know that those days are limited. And the cool thing is, though, is be in that moment. Be in that moment. And we always like to plan. We're planners. What's the next thing? But in doing that, be in the moment, plan ahead, but don't be in that moment that hasn't even happened yet. Because if you don't take care of right now, that ain't gonna happen.
Yes.
You know, and that's pretty deep when you think about it.
Yes.
Because people are coming at you like, hey, you got an FCA meeting, you got to do this, hey, you got to buy, and we are working on a studio, by the way. We are looking to get some studio space, just like the Jeffersons did back in the day, moving on up. You know, we are trying. I did want to wrap up that last point, that it's completely off topic of what we're doing today, but being as a part of in that moment, I did say to your wife last night, I said, did you look around you tonight? She said, what's that? I'm like, we're all here, we're safe, and we're good. And we didn't know if this was going to be a possibility 10 months ago. She's like, amen to that. Exactly. And I'm like, I don't care who wins or loses tonight. All these kids are here playing the game that they love. These coaches are down there doing what they love. And it was important to me to show my support, but also just to take in a football game. It's a beautiful night last night.
It was amazing.
What a blessing it was.
It was amazing. I know a lot of folks think my feelings are hurt that D. Rutherford High School lost last night, but I definitely want to send a huge shout out to Mosley. Those guys played ball last night. They played some great football. Proud of all those kids. I think I held a line up because I probably hugged every Mosley football player. And I think, Coach, honestly, I think that's what keeps me going. I coached a lot of those guys since they were 5 years old, and now they're in high school.
You care about them.
I love them. And they gave me the love back last night. They grabbed me, they hugged me, Coach. Oh, we miss you. They hugged me, they loved on me, and it was amazing. So there was no losers for us last night. We lost a couple players, praying that those knee injuries are not serious.
Absolutely.
Great job, Mosley, from the staff on down. Those guys played ball. They did real well.
And see, while you were down there, you know, seeing the fruits of all your labor, even up there in the stands last night, I was seeing a couple players that I had coached, and I had one kid come up to me who I taught in 7th grade a couple of years ago, and I was hard on this kid.
Yeah.
And I think we drove each other equally nuts. And it's crazy to me, and I know you're going to agree with me, that the kids that you're so hard on, dude, that they come back.
Yeah, they love you.
They come back, and they I don't know what it is. If somebody had been that hard on me every single day, I don't really know, dude, if I'd go seek them out to go say hi. But this kid found me in the front row last night, and he looks down and he says, hey, Mr. Ford, do you remember me? I said, of course I do, you know.
Yeah.
Shake 5, he's like, well, I'm playing baseball now. I'm over at Bay High School. And I said, and in my mind, I'm processing the moment. I'm like, I don't even understand why you came to find me. Because he hated me 2 years ago. Absolutely hated me. Because I was one of the few teachers that was keeping him in the lines.
Yeah.
Kid was funny, charming, very popular in the class.
Yeah.
But I guess he reminded me of myself. I was the class clown. And one of my running lines with him and every other kid was like, look, dude, I think it's cool that you're funny. I think it's cool that your classmates like you and they laugh at your jokes, but there's one difference between me and you. He's like, what's that, Miss Ford? I said, I was pulling the A's and the B's and still making people laugh. I was like, you need to pick it up in the classroom. Yeah. It ain't about how many people you can make laugh, because guess what? They're gonna be laughing at you
when you're in the same grade.
When you're in the same grade next year.
So you think about it. You think about the kids that come to your house or that surround your kids that stay the night, and they find you they be like, Dad, and you're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
But you think about how many kids really want to be fussed at. You think about those kids that want to have, I tell my kids all the time, they want to have your lifestyle. They want parents in the house that are going to fuss at them and stop them from doing bad things. And they keep acting out and nobody's not saying anything.
Right.
So if somebody takes the time to actually stop and care and say, hey, chill, let's do this. That goes a long way
It
with
does.
the kids. It goes, so I found out some of my worst students will come back. I mean, if I Coach Todd, oh my God, you remember when you said this in class? And I'm like, no, I don't. I have it on video.
But obviously you do.
I had the phone out of my class. Good. You gave the greatest speeches, Coach Todd. I honestly love it. So we never know the influence we have on these kids. And back to just like the title of what we're talking about today. I know we really haven't talked about the women part of it. Like women being the woman that you're called to be is it's a tricky situation.
Mm-hmm.
I told this everybody's trying to keep up with the trends, what's going on, who's getting work done, who's getting this put in their hair, who's getting fake this and fake that. It's hard to be genuine or be 100% true in a world at times that's so fake.
Absolutely.
Fake is accepted. People embrace fake. They're like, oh man, she has like the greatest body ever. Well, she paid for everything she got. She was constructed.
Exactly.
And it's okay to take the construction that God made and say, hey, this is wonderful, this is beautiful. But when you're looking at all these outside influences, it's kind of hard to do those things. I feel like a lot of women get caught up into what their mom did or what their dad or what their parents want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want my kids to do it. What makes them happy? There was a time when you were like, hey, you can't make no money off video games. What are you playing video games? Well, you can be a millionaire quickly.
I'm struggling with that one.
I know it, but it's like my daughter started school here, new school this year, and in her class, one of her classes in 7th grade is coding.
That's great.
I'm like, I'm
That's
sitting
great.
there, I'm blown away. I'm sitting in the class and I'm looking at the teacher like, y'all teach coding? Oh my gosh, that's huge. That's important.
It is.
And I think once you start showing kids a different light or different things, they can do things, which is why a lot of times we have problems in our classroom with parents because I taught my kid to be a Democrat. I taught my kid to be a Republican.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm just teaching your kid to think for themselves.
Right.
So when they get out in the workforce one day, they got to think for themselves. They're gonna have to make real life decisions by themselves a lot of time. So I think I like those parents that encourage their kids to be who they want to be, but also those parents that don't allow their kids just to sit around and be a sorry individual. Because I forgot the meme, we posted it. Don't get mad at the coach when your son is better at Fortnite than he is running routes.
Exactly.
So, but I truly believe in let your kids grow and be what they want to be. Their major doesn't necessarily have to be the major that you wanted. Like my daughter has 50 majors that she keeps talking about. I'm like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a radiologist. You know the hours. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Money's great.
Yeah, I'm not encouraging her like I should. So
Yeah.
You got to learn to encourage your kids and let them be. I think that's like one of my great assets when it comes to the kids. I let them be. I'm like, all right, this is your personality, okay. And with those kids, me and you both know, sarcasm from a teacher gets you a long way.
It does.
So they say something crazy, and you be like, really? And the whole class laughed, and it was like, all right, I know what type of reaction I'm gonna get from this guy.
Yeah.
And they pretty much straightened up. But how do you feel about the women trying to be the woman that they're called to be, but you're living in a world that is not real at times, not realistic?
Well, that question spans, I don't know, 50, 60 years, dude. And having taken women's studies at South Florida and learning about that, being enlightened, it really gave me a lot of skills that a lot of us males don't normally have.
Yeah.
And again, I appreciate the relationship that I'm in, the partnership that I'm in, because I want her to be genuine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want her to be all the things that you just said. And the great thing is, she already was a genuine person and is a genuine person. And so my thing is watching fake on TV
Oh God.
is exactly that. It's on TV. And it is not real life. We don't live that kind of life. That's why we watch it on TV. That's why some of us get caught up and go, ooh. It's like that, again, I always use the analogy, the bad accident that you rubberneck and you just can't take your eyes away from it. You know you shouldn't look at it, yet you do, because it's not a part of normal life. It's not real life. So we get caught up in things that we don't see right in front of us. My biggest thing for women is, in order to be the true person that you should be, don't be a victim of your circumstances that you came from your childhood.
Wow.
I've lived and seen what that looks like.
Yeah.
I've seen it with two people.
Yeah.
But I've seen the difference in those two people was one thing, and it goes right back to how we started the show today, is choices. You can come from the same place, not in the same town, but you can come from the same environment where there is crime, where there are drugs, where there are sexual, mental, emotional abuse. But that doesn't mean that that's who you're going to be.
Oh yeah.
It means that's a part of who you are. But what are you going to do with that? And there's nothing I love more than to see women empowered and being completely in love with who they are in a purest sense, and they're not painting their face.
Oh yeah, I love natural.
They're not paying $3,000 for breast augmentation if it's not needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to tell you one better.
Yeah.
I love women that don't conform.
Yes.
I've seen so many women date guys and they conform to what their man is. So if their man is a drug dealer, if their man is a crackhead, now all of a sudden they're on drugs.
Right.
Or they're doing those things. I think the most beautiful thing about a woman is just a natural woman that can take over a whole scene. You know, I tell my daughters, you know, when you walk in a room, you should command the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, your beauty is, it's just not the way, it's just not your face, it's your mind, it's the way you talk, it's all of those things. There's a certain glow about you.
Right.
A lot of people don't feel that glow, they don't feel good about themselves, and they're not able to do that thing. So I think a lot of times low self-esteem will help a woman get with a person, and then they conform to what that man is. And all women say before they get in a relationship, I'm not going to date this guy. I'm not going to date that guy. And all of a sudden they're dating that guy. And they was like, well, you know, I think I can change him. And if you really look into the dictionary, under the word change, it says one cannot change themselves. God is going to have to change them. So stop thinking that you're getting into a relationship that just because you're in a relationship, you can make the relationship better. I really believe, you know, men, like chivalry should not be dead. Yeah, she should have some corridors.
Yeah.
Pull out her seat when she's getting ready to sit down. Send flowers just because.
Bring a jacket even if she doesn't need it, just in case.
Do all of those things. I tell my friends all the time that says, you know, me and my wife, the intimacy is not there. And I don't know how to get it going. I'm like, listen, it just doesn't happen at night when it's time to go.
Right.
You have to start that conversation all day long. Women like you to be like, hey babe, I was thinking about you. You know, I wanna do such and such, I wanna do this later. I wanna go hang, I wanna do those things. You have to treat her like when you dated her.
Exactly.
But what a lot of people fall victim to is they give everything now. I tell men and women, I tell women this, don't make a man your husband before he's your husband. What do I have to look forward to when I become your husband? You done gave everything.
Exactly.
And if I'm getting it free, why do I need to put a ring on it? Same thing with men. Men, they will love to flaunt what they have, and they got this and they got that, and I can do this for you and I can do that, and they just tell their whole bank account. So now this woman is in love with the idea, oh, you got money, you can take care of me. What happens when the money stops?
Right.
Or the money's not there no more. So we're building fake and false relationships.
True.
Based upon things. Your lovely wife says, unfortunately, we live in a social world where we compare ourselves to the reality that people post online, which is not real. So a lot of people post stuff definitely all the time. they post stuff. I told you Drake had one of the lines in his song. Women take pictures of places they been out of town,
Right.
and they don't post all the pictures, or even from overseas. They post the rest of the pictures later on when they come back, just to pretend like they're still on vacation, and they really can't enjoy their vacation because they're too busy taking pictures just to show everybody back home.
Right.
So we definitely live in a society like that. But I think the most important thing about a woman is a woman commands change. So if a guy really wants to be with you, he will change his life. He will say, okay, I'm gonna fix these things. When you said you was fine with not having a relationship and you was good, like hey, I'm good over here by myself. All of a sudden this woman comes in your life and you're like, wait a minute, I'm about to back up what I said. Let me conform.
Exactly.
Because I understand who she is.
Well, what I really respect too is that she makes me earn our relationship every single day.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of people misconceive that. They're like, what do you mean? Why do I have to keep proving myself every day? And my question would be, why not?
Oh yeah.
What makes you think that just because you've done everything up to this point, what does that just give you credit?
Yeah.
Credit's something in your wallet.
Oh yeah.
That's a report that followed. The person that you're spending your life with shouldn't be, oh, I've got a credit line,
Yeah.
and once I run it out, then I guess it's on that person to change. No, man, it's like, you know, we talk to the kids. We're very honest with them, and we try to be the best version of ourselves that we always can, because we're trying to show them this is achievable.
Oh yeah.
Even though you kids have been through, you know, divorced households, we're a blended family. We're the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
But we're trying to show them, and it's hard, but we choose to do it every day. We choose very consciously to say, you know what, guys, it's hard work, but man, is it worth it?
Yes.
It really is worth it when we're all in the house, everybody is comfortable and safe. Do you know you have a safe place to live? You always got food in the fridge, you got food in the pantry, we clothe you, we take care of you. You can do this if you have kids one day. And your family may break up and things may go wrong. It doesn't mean your life is over.
No.
It just means you just got to earn it.
Yeah.
And that's in everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I guess what it really comes down to for both men and women, it has got to be something that is mutually hardworking. You have to choose each other every single day. Hold each other accountable is the word that we usually hold for kids. You as adults need to be accountable towards that person. I've heard so many times, what are you, my dad? Oh my gosh. No, I'm not your dad. And I'm sorry that your dad wasn't around. But no, I'm not trying to be your dad. I'm trying to say, look, I'm interested in your well-being.
Yeah.
I'm interested in us making this work. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the movie 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You got to fall in love all over again.
You do.
Every day.
You do.
Every day. And I challenge people to do that. You will have a lot better relationship instead of having the microwave relationships where, you know, the little kernels in the bottom of popcorn ain't pop right, so we gonna break up.
Right.
So they're warm one day, they're off the next day. They're on one day, and it's like, it drives me insane. Like, stop putting all your business on social media. I don't need to know that you're mad at this person. I don't even know you're mad at your spouse. Like, your arguments are between y'all.
That's right.
Like, I don't run to everybody and say, man, my wife was doing this, because if she goes and tell everything I did, I'd be in a whole lot of trouble. You'll definitely look differently at me. So I think people just gotta chill when it comes to relationships.
Well,
keep it off social.
Isn't that a part of intimacy though too, is keeping that exclusive?
Oh yeah.
Because in a world where everybody shares everything, what happened to the times when people didn't know your business?
Oh yeah.
When, whether it was in your kitchen or your living room or your bedroom, it stayed right there. It's not just for Vegas where things should stay. That stuff that's important between you and your spouse needs to stay between you and you only. Not your girlfriends, not your dudes that you're hanging out with at work or outside of work. That is for you guys only. And I think that's a part of intimacy that people really lose sight of.
Yeah.
And that's when the relationships start cracking, and then when they crack, then they wonder, how did we get here? Well, I'll tell you how you got there. You weren't keeping things real between yourselves. You weren't keeping them private.
Oh yeah. A lot of people want to show off what they got. And then there's a lot of people that take delight in other people's things.
Mm-hmm.
So I've talked to people, it's amazing. They're like, I'm in a relationship with, I'm like, are you in a relationship? You're in a relationship, but they're not in a relationship. Like if you're dating a person that you can't take a selfie with,
you're trying to hide something
you're not
then.
in a look. We don't want relationships now. Let me stop stepping on toes. But I'm just saying, if you can't take a selfie with that person, y'all are really not in a relationship together.
Not yet.
Yeah, if you can't hang out and everything is just private, you know, y'all probably not in a relationship. But that's going back to conforming. A lot of people say they won't do this and they won't do that. They do it. But on a roll to be the best version of you, I think it starts with loving yourself first.
Oh.
And once you love yourself, you're able to say, hey, I only accept this for myself. I'm not going to accept anything less. You can call me funny acting. You can talk about me, say I'm weird. You can do all of those things, but I'm not going to accept anything less than this. And then once you start putting those boundaries in it, that's one way to becoming the best version of yourself. But if you don't put those boundaries early, you're going to wind up in a relationship that you're not supposed to be in. You're going to wind up having these kids and having to start over. The worst thing to do is to be in a relationship with somebody you felt sorry for. I said it before, you got to learn to put expiration dates on things.
Yes.
A lot of people are in relationships with people they felt sorry for. That person might have been going through a bad breakup, or you might have been going through a bad breakup, and they felt sorry or they felt sympathy, and now you're in a relationship that you're not supposed to be in.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're probably going to lose one of your good friends that could have probably just stayed your friend. So we've got to set those boundaries early on to becoming the person that we're supposed to be. If not, you'll wind up in relationships, situations, friendships that you're not supposed to be in. Dave's is not working, nothing.
Huh?
Your mic is not working, or your live feed is not on no more. It probably
Yeah, it did.
We probably went past our time.
Well, I think what you said is a perfect way to end it, and I'll say this. It was when you said, love yourself.
Yeah. I
think that is the starting point. And if you're not there, obviously a lot of you who are young watching, you're not there, okay? It does take a long time to truly discover who you are, who you think you're meant to be if you're seeing those signs out there. It's not about accomplishments, not about how much money you make, it ain't about how many friends you have. That doesn't make you the person that you're called to be.
Exactly.
The person that makes you who you're called to be is you.
Yeah.
And if you are not content, is the word, if you are not intentionally content in choosing you every day, that you're going to try to get better, then I don't know if you're ever going to get to that point that you're who you're called to be. I think you can pray as much as you want to pray. You can make as many awesome friends, get the perfect job, the car, the house, the money. But there are a lot of lonely people out there who have everything that I just said.
Oh yeah.
You look at me and you, we are like the everyman from literature from the medieval times. I guess it was, Chaucer was the last name. I'm showing my English nerd here, where he talked about the character who was the everyman, and the everyman was the embodiment of what it says. It's the guy walking down the street who's a plumber. It's the guy who does have a college degree but can relate to the plumber, and so on and so on. That's why you and I gravitate towards each other. That's why this stuff is real, and that's why I think people out there are liking it and it's gaining momentum, is because if anything, man, we're not fake, dude. We tell it just like it is, and we have hurt a lot of people's feelings because we tell you like it is. Yeah. If you ask us a question, then dang it, you're gonna get an honest answer. Don't ask the question if you don't want to know it. And I think that the points that we have covered here today, I think they're great. I think this show has been special, like I hoped it would be and like I thought it would be. And I think that if some of y'all didn't get a chance to chime in, please, if you don't want to, do it while the show is going on and you feel like you think of something later, you may be in the story like, oh my gosh, there was something I needed to say. Please connect with us. We had a light week on video this week. In fact, we didn't cut one video, dude, between the two of us this week.
Shame.
But that's okay, because we had a blog presence all week. There was a blog presence all week.
Oh yeah.
And please understand, we do get caught up in our everyday lives. We do.
Yes.
Both of us had some trials and tribulations that went on this week. We counseled each other on the phone yesterday morning.
Yes.
That's right. Hey, look, we're not counselors. We're not licensed professionals. We're not trying to heal anybody through what we say. All we are doing is sharing with you that we're real people. We're just like you. We're trying to be better men, better spouses, better fathers tomorrow than we are today. It doesn't stop today.
Yeah.
Any closing points you want to make?
Just want to say a couple shout outs. I see you, Derek Holmes. Appreciate you. Guys, I certainly appreciate everybody yesterday that saw my Facebook post and I asked for just prayer for me. We all go through those days and we just don't feel it. And yesterday was one of those days we just don't feel it. Life brings about all types of problems, and never be afraid to ask for prayer.
Absolutely.
No matter how high God takes me, I won't be ever ashamed to ask for prayer. And I had over 300 likes and loves and bukus of comments, people inboxing me saying it's going to be all right. Listen, I certainly thank God for each and every one of y'all. I'm loving this podcast. I'm telling you, in my next life, I'm going to retire and just be a podcaster. I'm going to have a show every day. I need to be on the radio or something. I'm loving this. But I thank God for each and every one of you guys tuning in and making J.O.B. podcast. And below, we're getting there. It's a lot of exciting things for the future. We're definitely praying on that studio.
Oh, yeah.
I got some different words back about it, and I think some people want to invest in us. So if you like it, please comment, like, share, go to our YouTube page, J.O.B. podcast, find us on there, inboxes on here. We're everywhere now. We're trying to get the word out. Dave Ford and Ty Steele. Those are going to be some names that you're going to remember. We're trying to do something great, and it's not for our benefit. As you see, we bootlegging it right now. Sorry about that. Sorry about all the technical difficulties today. My friend Bobby White keeps calling me.
That's funny.
So it throws my phone off in the recording. But I thank God for y'all. I'm just excited, glad to be here.
We all got to start somewhere, and it all starts with you guys. I just want to give some shout outs to Joey Ramey, one of our former players over in North Bay Haven, chimed in. JJ Kindred from the Knoxville Journal. Me and you used to have desks right next to each other. I miss you. My special right-hand partner in my life, Demi. Even her brother, Dean Boatwright. I haven't even met you yet, brother, but thank you for watching. Tracy DeVos, Alfonso Bell, Coach Bell.
Coach Bell in the building.
Tom Brown, who is the dad of one of our players at the camp that we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that wrote the letter for us, the famous letter. And your right-hand partner, Miss Steele, also chimed in as well. So thank you, everybody, one and all. Please always watch what we're doing. We're always on the move. We're staying busy. We're doing it all for you guys. It ain't about us. For Ty Steele, I'm Dave Ford. This is the J.O.B. podcast. Peace and God bless.